There's opportunities to come back and look at things once the market has an opportunity to catch up with supply.
Washington State passes its first rent control law ever. Tonight we're hearing from people who will be affected by the changes. A new pope and history made, the first American pope in the Catholic Church's history.
Temperatures back in the 70s the next couple of days, but we have the chance of rain returning on Mother's Day.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for the KREM 2 Night Report. I'm Mark Hanrahan. For the first time ever, a law signed by Washington Governor Bob Ferguson controls how much landlords can raise the price of rent year after year. KREM 2's Connor McAvoy spoke with members of the community and a Spokane representative about what this will mean going forward. Connor?
Well, the goal of House Bill 1217 is to improve housing stability for renters across Washington State. I went out to the Browns Addition neighborhood today to hear from members of the community about what they think of this new state law. Welcome to the historic Browns Addition neighborhood. It's a neighborhood with lots of renters near downtown Spokane. Matt Good's been renting his apartment here for 8 years, but he says each year gets a little more challenging.
Everybody's rent has just gone up so significantly over the last couple of years, and I know people who have had to move to other places just because it's frankly just not a sustainable model like the way the housing market works right now.
It's a frustration he says he sees not just in Browns Addition, but across Spokane. And it's one that may get easier going forward thanks to House Bill 1217. Landlords who want to raise their rent for their tenants have to cap that increase at 7% plus inflation or at 10%, whichever is less. Governor Bob Ferguson signed the bill into law this week, and one of the votes in favor of it passing is Washington State Representative for District 3, Natasha Hill. She says the new cap is necessary.
There have been some additional costs to our homeowners and housing providers, but not the kind of cost increases that are justifying them taking advantage of a market where we simply don't have enough housing for everyone, especially affordable housing.
While she's relieved the bill is now law, she acknowledges it's a temporary solution for Washingtonians and specifically Spokanites as they adapt to what she says is a growing population.
It's going to take some time, though, for us to increase the supply at the rate that our population's growing, that the need is there. So we're going to need, another 10 years for that to happen.
The bill also has its opponents, like members of the Rental Housing Association of Washington, who argue it's bad policy.
Rent control has been proven again and again in every jurisdiction it's tried to have unintended consequences, such as higher rents, lower quality of rental stock, and more importantly, the shrinking of the rental stock that's available.
But for now, folks like Good are excited to see a change in how much renters like him may have to pay each year.
The fact that they're actually putting a cap on, what landlords can charge is really just a huge victory for the people because we all need a break right now.
The bill's been in the works for the past several years and passed right before the legislative session ended. The rent cap for manufactured or mobile homes sits at 5%. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Connor, thank you very much. A landmark decision today from Washington State Supreme Court. Washington can prohibit the sale of gun magazines considered high capacity. State Attorney General Nick Brown says prohibiting the sale of magazines that hold more than 10 rounds will save lives. Gun rights advocates say the 2022 law violates the state and U.S. constitutions. They argued the ban is an infringement on the right to bear arms, but the state argued a magazine is not part of a firearm, and the majority of justices agreed. After just 2 rounds of voting, the Catholic Church's conclave has chosen a new pope. 69-year-old Cardinal Robert Prevost has officially become the new pope and the first pope from the U.S. in the history of the Catholic Church. The Chicago-born missionary spent his career ministering in Peru. His first words as Pope Francis' successor were, "Peace be with you," as people cheered in St. Peter's Square. Our coverage of the new pope continues right now over on KREM 2 Plus, where you can watch more live coverage right now. Download KREM 2 Plus for free and watch on your TV. All right, let's talk weather, shall we? A bit of a cool down today compared to yesterday, but now we turn our attention to that ever-important Mother's Day forecast. Jeremy?
Oof. Mark, it's an oof. Let's talk it, because right now we don't sit too bad. Temperatures in the 50s, and overnight we're going to fall back into the 40s, few 30s dotted in there. Deer Park, remember, you don't hit your average last freeze until June. So expect those temperatures to trend cool from time to time. Next few days, well, it's all about the sun and the warm temps. Tomorrow we'll see a little high atmospheric cloud cover. Saturday, the clouds will start to take over. And by Sunday, there it is, rain returning to the forecast. You saw it. Looks like we get around. Now, I didn't pause it when that rain moved through because I don't want you to commit to a time. There is still a lot that can change between now and Sunday, and there will be a lot that will change in the forecast between now and Sunday. 78 degrees tomorrow and mostly sunny. 77 and partly sunny on Saturday. But by the time we hit Sunday, there is a chance of showers, and I think those likely hold off until later in the day. I think those will hold off until afternoon or evening. So if you're heading out early or in the middle of the day, I do think you will be pretty good. We'll talk why coming up in the full forecast.
Sounds good, Jeremy. We'll check back in with you later in the show. Now to our night beat with a quick look at the day's top stories. Today, local authorities are touting a major bust involving large amounts of fentanyl, meth, and firearms right next to a Spokane high school. The acting U.S. attorney for Eastern Washington says 21 people are facing charges of armed drug trafficking. It's alleged an apartment complex near North Central High School was used to distribute drugs and hold firearms. Law enforcement says in the past 2 years, 58 calls were made for service at that apartment. Authorities say the drug bust also involved drugs being sold on Division Street and near the House of Charity.
Enough to dose every seat in the arena, every seat in the McCarthy Athletic Center at Gonzaga, and every seat at One Spokane Stadium, with thousands of lethal doses left over.
The U.S. attorney characterized the arrest of the 21 individuals as repeat offenders, including one person accused of using their 12-year-old child to sell drugs, another whose child allegedly overdosed on their parents' supply. In continuing coverage tonight, a Spokane man faces federal charges and potential deportation, accused of assaulting a Border Patrol agent during his April arrest. We have now learned a federal grand jury handed down an indictment against Martin Diaz, essentially saying prosecutors have enough evidence to suggest that he could be convicted of assaulting a federal officer. Today, a U.S. District Court judge entered a not guilty plea on Diaz's behalf. The affidavit states that during the struggle, Diaz elbowed Agent Walter Sketch in the eye. Spokane police have arrested a suspect in a Spokane arson. We first brought you this story on KREM 2 News yesterday when a fire broke out in the 500 block of East North Avenue. As officers arrived on scene, they found a shed and a tall pine tree fully engulfed in flames, as well as a nearby fence. That fire began spreading embers to the yards of nearby homes, which then sparked additional smaller fires. Spokane police determined that fire was deliberately set and found witnesses that saw a vehicle leaving the alley just before the fire. This morning, they arrested a woman, 34-year-old Jessie Green, who was then booked into jail on first-degree arson. If you witnessed the incident or have additional information that could help investigators, you're asked to call Crime Check. That number is right there at the bottom of your screen. And that's it for your night beat. For more information on any of these stories, just head to our website. That's KREM.com. All right, we are just getting started here at 10 o'clock tonight. Still ahead in this hour, a Washington family claims a cookie mix-up cost their mother her life. Now they're suing. That's our next story. Millions of dollars headed to the Spokane International Airport. Find out how they'll be used just ahead tonight.